All right, and welcome to the first episode of An Idiot's Guide to Sports History. I'm your host, Kem DeWosu, and I'm joined today by my good friend, Justin Bushy. How are you doing today, Justin?
Doing good. Glad to be here on this podcast.
I'm glad you're here. So this is the inaugural episode for a new show I'll be doing. First couple are just going to be without video. Eventually, I hope to work video in there some way, but for right now, this is going to be an audio only experience. Yeah. I'm really into sports. If you can tell from any of the videos that you may be watching on the TikTok, the Instagram, or the YouTube channel, I've like kind of hidden like a breadcrumb trail of like, oh, okay, this guy's into sports, and yeah, I'm into sports, specifically basketball. Basketball, my favorite sport. I think it is your favorite sport too, Justin.
Yes, it is. If I had to pick a favorite sport, it would definitely be basketball.
And we just happen to have a shared interest in our favorite team being the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yes, growing up as a kid from Southern California, the Lakers have always been near and dear to my heart. That's something I used to watch with my dad as a little kid, and that was during the time Kobe was in the league. So obviously, I was a big fan of Kobe, and yeah, I've been watching him ever since. I kind of stopped after Kobe, like not his past, but not like when when they started sucking after pretty much. I would still watch, but I would not like consistently. And then when they got LeBron, got back into it, and then now they have Luka and everything.
And I have a story about that. That day that he got signed, do you remember that day when we were in the pool and like that family was talking about that?
Oh yeah, they were like, hey, Lakers just got LeBron, like LeBron right here in LA. And mind you, we live like 70 miles inland from LA, so yeah.
And then he was talking about the price of 120 million. That's nothing.
He's like, that's nothing. It's like the largest contract signed at the time. It was like the largest contract ever signed. I think it was one of them. It was definitely like top 5.
I honestly think it was pretty low because I'm thinking that we'll get to this eventually, but KG's contract, he actually is. I don't know if you know this. He's one of the highest earners in NBA history because of that one contract he signed in 1998. He had at one point, I think it was broken by A-Rod after a couple years later, but he had at that point the highest earning contract. I think it was like, I think it was 120 million.
For how many years?
Let's see. I want to say because he re-signed in 2004, I think, for an extension. So I want to say it was like 6 years.
Okay. Yeah. Well, now what's the highest contract now? Do you know?
It's either Jaylen Brown's. He's close to like
Jaylen Brown, the highest paid. I know he's good, but like that's just crazy. I don't know.
You got to pay a lot for those that spray on stuff.
Yeah. Would you see like when he was like he would like do a move and like his hair would smear onto the player's jersey?
I like that he owned up to it though. I like that he just like went on stream and then shaved his head.
Yeah, I didn't see that, but that's pretty. Props to him for doing that. It takes a lot of courage. Shout out Jaylen Brown, friend of the show.
And we'll get to that eventually though. In the 70s, there was a player named Rick Barry, if you've ever heard of him. Most accurate one of the most accurate free throw shooters in NBA history, and the highest scoring finals average in NBA history.
For points?
Yeah, for points.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I only know this because I was watching the finals this year, and they talk about the highest scoring games, and I think they were talking about Shea's game, and he was only in game 2, and he was like, he has one of the highest finals averages ever, and I was like, all right, let's have him finish the finals before we report that. And then I thought I was going crazy because they didn't talk about Shaq, and I was like, I know Shaq averaged like 38 points in the 2000 finals, but then they're talking about like their entire finals average, and I forgot about Miami because like if you watch his first 3, he's definitely in the top 5.
Yeah, that Miami year probably brought him down. Let's see his finals points per game average on his career was 28.8 points, 13 rebounds, and 3 assists.
Yeah, Miami really brought those numbers down because I remember he averaged like 13 points in that 2006 series.
Yeah, he averaged about 34 points when he was with the Lakers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he dropped his points down to about 6 points to 28.
But we'll get to all of that. We're going to just kind of start, delve into that. I did a little research about like kind of how the Lakers came to be, and it'll shock you, honestly, their origins if you're not that familiar with the early days of the NBA.
Yeah, like one of the, for me, what I thought kind of the story that gets told about the Lakers is that obviously they started in Minneapolis and then moved to LA, but that's actually not where they got their start.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that, Kemdy.
So, basketball's kind of getting more and more popular. College is still more popular than like professional leagues, and there have been professional leagues before, and there will be professional leagues after this point that will fold some of them into the NBA. And the NBL, the National Basketball League, launches in 1946, and one of their first teams is the Detroit Gems. Now, there's nothing really that notable about this time. They play less than 50 games this season, and at the time, the Detroit Gems finished with a record of 4-40.
Wow.
That is one of the worst records.
Yeah, let's do a little quick math on that. What's the win percentage for that?
Yeah, get the calculator out. So 4 divided by 40.
Oh, wait. They won 0.1% of their games.
Wow, that is amazing.
And they were an all-white basketball team at the time, but they were playing against other all-white teams, I assume.
Yeah, the league wasn't integrated until the 50s, but we're getting to that because the Lakers are also responsible for that. So they had along with being one of the worst teams in the league, they also had a very low attendance, and so the owner.
What was his name again? Ben Berger, I believe.
Actually, they got it sold. So
okay.
Ben Berger and Morris Chalfin sold the Detroit Gems to Minnesota for $15,000, which is insane. That like a team that's the kind of team it's known for today.
Now, are we talking 15,000 USD?
Yes, but then we also have to like factor in inflation. But still, 15,000 is not that much. But then again, like I said, professional basketball was just not that popular.
1946, folks. 1946. We were, what is that? 2 years after the bomb was dropped.
Oh, Hiroshima?
Yeah.
About a year.
A year after the bomb was dropped, folks. You got to remember that.
Yeah. So people are still coming back at that time.
Yeah.
But so, they renamed themselves from the Detroit Gems to the Minneapolis Lakers, which, they're named after the land of 10,000 lakes.
Mm-hmm. I never understood that. What is that? I've never heard the term Laker. Like, is that like a job? Like someone who like works on a lake? I'm a Laker?
I think it's just kind of like
they just was lakes there, and they're like, we'll call them the Lakers.
Basically. Yeah.
All right. It's crazy that became like the biggest team in sports, just the Lakers. I don't know. I always thought that was weird.
Yeah. I mean, it makes even less sense when they move, but there's a whole lot of teams that names who just don't make sense when they move. Like the Utah Jazz does not mean anything.
Yeah, what the Utah Jazz? No one goes to Utah for jazz. You go to Utah for Mormonism and like to look at the sites.
Yeah. Like, because they used to be the New Orleans Jazz, but they moved because they just...
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just teams, they just don't work out in, they don't work out in New Orleans as, we'll see when we get to that.
Yeah.
But John Kundla is hired as the head coach. He's very important going on. They got the newly minted Minneapolis Lakers got the #1 pick in a dispersal draft due to their record, where they drafted their first star from another league named George Mikan.
Yes, George Mikan. He's what we would call, he's the prototype. He's what we would say maybe the Adam for the big man that we know today.
Basically.
Yes.
Yeah. He basically pioneered the hook shot in a way. And things just turn around immensely because they win their first year, 1948. Mikan wins MVP, and then they do the same thing in 1949, but also in 1949. In 48, they jump to the BAA from the NBL. They jump to the BAA, which is the Basketball Association of America. And they, like I said, they win again, but something else happens in 1948 that's also pretty significant. There is a game between the Harlem Globetrotters, a popular basketball team at the time that was known for having black players.
So I'm curious, was this before, were the Globetrotters like a scripted team at this point, or were they actually playing basketball?
No, they were an actual basketball team. That's what people forget about the Harlem Globe. They weren't always just like an exhibition team. But there was like a match in Chicago where the all-black Harlem Globetrotters defeated the all-white NBA champion Minneapolis Lakers 61-59. Very close game. Challenge ratio stereotypes and then help kind of accelerate the integration of black players into the league. And 2 years later, first black player would sign his contract. So yeah, 1950 is when NBA gets a bit more integrated. But to talk more about the Harlem Globetrotters, yeah, they actually were offered a spot in the NBA at one point, and they declined it.
Do
And
you know
then
why? Was it for?
I don't remember exactly why. I just know that like they I think they thought they were good the way they were, but I think they were honestly making more money than the NBA was, which is crazy thing. Because we'll get to Wilt Chamberlain eventually, but there's a reason. Aside from the fact that like he couldn't sign, like this is something that doesn't happen nowadays. And now everyone just does the one and done, or they do the G League or something like that. But you couldn't sign with an NBA team, and if you were not 4 years out of college.
Oh, okay.
So Wilt Chamberlain, he can't be in the NBA, but he leaves college early and he decides to play for the Harlem Globetrotters. And he gets more money in 1 year at the Harlem Globetrotters than Bob Cousy, who is the highest earning player in the league by over double his salary.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Like, I'm telling you, people did not care about the NBA, which is why we'll get to
And there were still multiple leagues this time, right?
multiple
So yeah.
leagues still, yeah.
So it wasn't just it was just like basketball,
Yeah.
kind of in a way.
And then in 1949, they didn't like how the Minneapolis Lakers kind of like kept doing well, and then they left the NBL, and the NBL was like, we kind of want you guys back. So they merged the NBL and the BAA in 1949 to form the NBA.
Okay.
Now, despite this, the beginning of the NBL is still counted as the beginning of the NBA because, and I only say this because that is what the NBA says. If you remember the 50th anniversary, or was it? No, 75th anniversary celebration that they had a couple years ago, they said it started in 46. So that's what we're going with.
Okay.
There's 17 teams at this time, and then the Lakers have a good season.
Do you know if they had conferences set up yet, or was it just 17 teams and?
It was more. I'm actually not sure about conferences prior to 1960. That is something I didn't do research into.
Okay. Maybe we'll have the answer for you guys.
Yeah, I'll
next
add like
episode.
a little addendum or something like that later on. But in 1950, the 49-50 season, the first season of the actual NBA, they make it to the finals. They play the Syracuse Nationals, who eventually renamed to become the Philadelphia 76ers, in the finals, and they won in 6. There's a really cool game 1 buzzer beater, which is apparently one of the like first to happen in the finals. But yeah, the Lakers.
Do you know like when that buzzer beater happened? Because I know when stuff like that happened, I know like the first slam dunk happened, there was a lot of controversy. Were there like players that when the first buzzer beater happened, there was probably some players in the court that were like, that doesn't count. The buzzer. Was there a rule? Do you know, or was it a controversial moment, or was it just widely accepted that this was like?
I think it was just like a cool thing because no one had ever really seen that before.
Yeah.
Like dunking is a bit different because like dunking, people try to factor that more into aggression, and people didn't. If we're getting honest, people didn't have a problem with dunking until
it was Black Sheep
or Kareem did it. That is why they banned dunking in college while Kareem was there, and that's why he did the skyhook.
Yeah.
So we get into the 50-51 season. This is big because at this point they start tracking rebounding. At this point they weren't tracking rebounding. So somebody could have had the greatest game ever rebounding wise in like 1948, and like we just
we wouldn't know. We didn't keep the records for that. Cooking the books.
This season is also pretty groundbreaking because we get the lowest scoring game in NBA history against at the time the Fort Wayne Pistons. The score is 19-18 at the final game.
Were they just holding onto the ball the entire time?
Because there was no shot clock.
Oh.
So if you were leading, they would just pass it around to someone, and you didn't want to foul someone because then they would get free throws.
Oh my God! It was good no one was watching at this point because that would have been
footage. I'm pretty sure
of that game. Wow.
I don't know if it's that game in particular, but I've heard someone talking about it, and they show. So I don't know if it's footage of that game in particular or just like another game where they're just passing the whole time. But
So after that snoozer, they were like, we got to put a shot clock in
yes,
this.
so they invent the shot clock. Okay, they did have division finals. I know that they had conferences.
Oh, so they had divisions. Okay.
Yes, so because George Mikan gets injured in the division finals in 1951, and the Rochester Royals at the time, to be known as the Sacramento Kings, take advantage and they win in 5. Um, and
That was the start of the Sacramento Laker rivalry that is still alive to this day.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
Yes.
Yeah. Goes deeper than that. So in the offseason, 51 offseason, the NBA decided to widen the foul lane under the basket from 6 feet to 12 feet, as players could only stay in the lane for 3 seconds at a time. And this kind of forced Maiden to kind of change his game because he had to position himself further, and that's where he really solidified his hook shot.
And that's kind of what led, because like back then, like big men would literally just stand under the basket with their hands up, waiting for the guards to throw it to them, and then just lay it up. So this kind of forced the big man to become a lot more of a versatile position. You had to learn post moves. It introduced all that type of stuff. So that was actually a good innovation for the game.
And the one who like kind of forced this rule change was the New York Knicks coach at the time, Joe Lapchick. He basically regarded Mikan as his nemesis, despite the fact that the Knicks were one of the worst teams in the leagues at the time. And it was dubbed the Mikan rule. So 51-52 season, kind of back to normal type of thing. Mikan scores 61. His career high, I'm pretty sure. And at the time, the highest scoring performance was 63.
Wow. For a single player or for the whole team?
Single player.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, teams were still scoring. This is the way the scoring works. So 50s, really score slowing. 60s, fast pace. 70s, and it just kind of alternates and alternates and alternates. That's why 80s Showtime, 90s really slow. 2000s, they change it up. And like 04, they changed the rules, no hand checking, stuff like that. And then Phoenix Suns come out and they do that more kind of fast-paced ball. But then 2010s, it slows down a bit more until 2015, carrying the Warriors. And then
now we have like
been there ever since.
Yeah, crazy high scoring games now.
Yeah. But I guess that Knicks thing, actually, I guess I was wrong about them being the worst team in the league because this leads to 1952 finals, which also, again, I cannot stress this enough, people did not care about the NBA. This is known as one of the strangest finals in NBA history because for the first 6 games, neither team could play on their home court. The Minneapolis auditorium was already booked, and the Knicks Madison Square Garden was occupied by the Ringley Bros and Barnum Bailey Circus. If you remember that, I don't know if you remember that, but they're not in business anymore.
What do they do?
They shut down in it was just the circus. It was 2017.
Oh, okay.
They shut down then.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Instead, the Lakers played in St. Paul, Minneapolis, and the Knicks in the damp, dimly lit 69th Regiment Armory.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
That is kind of cool, though. Like,
yeah,
one of the first finals took place in friggin' Army barracks or whatever.
Yeah. And then, they beat the Knicks again in 1953. And here, let's take a brief pause real quick.
Okay.
All right, and we're back. All right, so like we said, 52 finals, Lakers beat the Knicks. 53 finals, Lakers beat the Knicks again. The Knicks will remember this.
Yes.
Let's wait 20 years. The 1954 season, 53-54, Mikan starts to decline a little bit at 29, which...
A little young, but they didn't have the knowledge of keeping our...
They were still smoking cigarettes. They were doing... Yeah.
Probably drinking whiskey and shit before the game.
Yeah. But the Lakers still win. Call it a dynasty. Mikan retires. The injuries were definitely a factor. 10 broken bones and 16.
What the hell happened to him?
Like they weren't. It was so early in the league, dude. They were not reffing them properly.
Yeah, what the hell? 10 breaks. Jesus Christ. He was like coming out looking like a veteran or something. He was coming out of a war zone.
Now, this is the league that, they're always like, you couldn't play in my league. I want to see people play in Mikan's league. We're like, oh, also, something we didn't mention, dribbling started in the 50s. So if you played 1946 sort of league until I think it was like 55,
there was no dribbling?
Yeah.
You just were running with the ball? Wow.
Yeah.
It's a completely
You
different
could do a
sport.
bounce pass. That was it.
Oh, you couldn't run with the ball?
No.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Um, so they have an uneventful 55 season, and they lose before the finals. Mikan returns in 56 to help out, but he's just a shell of his former self. He's, as the kids say these days, washed.
Yes.
And they lose again in the first round. Well, they lose in the first round, and he retires again.
And that was probably the end of the first Lakers dynasty, the end of the first great Laker, George Mikan.
Yeah.
And
But
yeah.
hey, you got to say it's pretty powerful. He got 5 championships for us.
Yes, he laid the he set the standard, we would say. And then and then now the Lakers are obviously one of the most revered sports franchises in all of sports.
And I wanted to talk to you about this because I don't know if you know this. I only know this because I remember I saw like your dad one time when I was at your house when we were in I think in high school. Your dad had this picture of like the Lakers. It was like 2 different Lakers shirts. It was like the 2001 championship shirt and then a 2002. I think it was either a shirt or a banner. And I noticed that like the 2001 shirt says like 8-time champions, and then the 2002 one says 13-time champions because up until the 2001-2002 season, they did not acknowledge the championships in Minneapolis.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they added them on. Honestly, the Minneapolis team is very forgotten. John Kundla, who coached all these teams to success, he didn't get into the Hall of Fame until the late 90s.
So he already passed at that point?
No, he didn't die. He actually didn't die until a couple years ago.
Oh, wow.
He made it to like 100, I think.
Nice.
But yeah, that team is pretty forgotten. But they kind of acknowledge them in the 2002 season. There's the game where they wear all blue jerseys.
Oh, do you know why they decided to do that late? Was it kind of that to me kind of seems like they're trying to like bolster the Laker brand?
Well, that, and then also I just think the NBA just didn't care that much back in the early days, and I think they're trying to make up for it. They only retired his jersey like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, I know that. I remember I was watching that game where they retired it.
But yeah, it's kind of crazy. But yeah, I'm glad they're acknowledging it now. But because it's like a good chunk of our titles. It's like as many titles as like Kobe had, Magic had.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like he should have his place in like among the Laker greats.
Yeah, definitely. George Mikan. Did you ever watch on Spectrum Sportsnet that show? It was like they would just show the top 10 Lakers. Did you ever watch those? Yeah. That's how I learned about him was from that, and he's definitely an interesting guy. Like I said, he kind of created the big man, which is one of the most important positions in the game.
He also is the reason we can get in. Well, I can say it now. I'll get back into it, but let's just say he's the reason we have the 3-point shot in the NBA.
George Mikan?
Yes.
How?
He, I'll just tell the whole story now, I guess. He, eventually, he still was connected to basketball even after he retired, and he, was the commissioner of the rival league in the 70s and the 60s and 70s called the American Basketball Association, or ABA. And they had implemented a 3-point line.
Okay.
So when the NBA and the ABA merged,
they kept it?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Well, it didn't get implemented until the 79-80 season. I mean, which sucks for people like Pistol Pete Maravich, but yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Yeah, so George Mikan, the first, we would say, great Laker and one of the most impactful players of all time. That would probably be, he's like the defining character of this era of the Lakers, definitely. Yeah. George Mikan.
So I think that wraps up this first episode. When we return, we will be talking about the Minneapolis Lakers as their success or more struggles through the 60s. We'll see new characters like Jerry West, Elgin Baylor. We'll see also the addition of Wilt Chamberlain eventually, and just a lot of pain. I'll say a lot of pain. One of the most painful decades in Lakers history, in my opinion.
Yes, but without pain, there is no gain.
This is true. All right. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you.
Thank you.
And goodbye.